there was a fascinating video I watched by this historian, and he was saying that like what Whoopi Goldberg said was clearly wrong, right? Because there was definitely race involved when it came to the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. But he was also saying, race is defined by different points in history. So right now we may not see Jewish people as like a different race,
right?
But at that point in history, they were being considered a different race by the Nazis, and they were, and so it was about racism and how, like, for instance, there were parts in history where being Italian was a different race.
Yes.
Right. Being Irish was a different race.
Right.
Being from different parts of Africa made you a different race from someone else from other parts of Africa.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
how,
Hutus.
What is a race has changed throughout history and throughout society.
So let's expand on that a little bit, because in my opinion right now, I really do believe race is a social construct. Like where I am today, I really do think that it's humanity putting an ugly tag on something that has no business being categorized in that manner.
But there's also a fine line with that, because I do agree with that, right? I agree, like I'm very much of like, we are all humans, but then you cannot say that and ignore what different races have had to endure.
That's different.
Through their history.
We're not talking about that.
Right.
Well, we're talking, there's ethnicity. We're talking about race, right? There is a difference, and don't ask me to define the difference, right?
Right.
But I'm pretty sure there's a difference, right? Like ethnicity is about what your collection of DNA, right? Your heritage, and where you came from, right? Mm-hmm. Race is how you are defined permanently by mankind. Mm. The letters that you have to, the places in a job application you have to fill out when you submit yourself, right? What kind of class you're in terms of your census, how you're defined, right? Mm. But it has no consideration for your ethnicity. Like, for example, I'm Brazilian Irish. Mm-hmm. Do I select Hispanic on my job application?
Yeah.
Because the way they classify it is anyone from South America or, Spain or wherever, it's almost all of South America is considered Hispanic.
So my best friend, who
right.
I'm not going to say her name just for privacy reasons. So she is Guatemalan Mexican, right?
Yeah.
Her one side of the family is Guatemalan, one side of the family is Mexican.
Yeah.
She's born and raised in America. So she's Latina, right? Mm-hmm. She's very proud of that, very proud of her culture. So there was some video the other day from someone saying, oh, if you were born in America, you can't call yourself Latina. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right, that you're telling this person whose whole family and history and tradition and is from these other countries, and she's so proud of it, and it's such a beautiful culture, and now you're telling her because her parents immigrated that she can't identify as that?
Right.
Like, where is the line?
We don't know. And this is why race is a social construct, right?
Oh my
because
God,
you can be ethnically Latina, but not culturally Latina, right? Like, I'm ethnically Brazilian, but 100% of my culture is not Brazilian. So I don't personally feel comfortable checking, yes, I am Hispanic on a job app, because it's 25% of me, right? I definitely come across as just,
white,
white, right? Caucasian, you know what I'm saying? So am I allowed to cash in on that in a way? Like, you know what I'm saying?
If you were Italian or Irish 150 years ago,
I wouldn't be white.
You wouldn't be white.
And this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
So in the 1940s, right? Not even 1940. Yeah, 1940s, I don't think Italians were considered white yet. I don't think Italians were considered as Caucasian.
What all this talking about just really makes me think that as people, we've just really fucked up society.
Well, yeah, we try our best.
Fucked up society.
And this whole race conversation is a question because
we don't know the answers. We're discussing it right now, and I'm very well aware that we are two white people discussing race, but I don't know the answer. You don't know the answers. This is why we're talking.
No, we don't. And that's perfect. That's why this podcast exists. We're not supposed to know. We're just talking, And my question is, when is race not a social construct? Like, when has that ever actually been a clear definition? Because none of this makes sense, right? Okay, so you can be ethnically a Jew.
Right.
I definitely think that exists.
Oh, no, of course there is. That's why you can get a 23andMe and you can see in your DNA.
Right. And I think that matters.
Yeah.
Right. Just like you can be ethnically African American, you can be ethnic whatever. Right. And of course that makes an impression on you as a person. But, race is the definition that society defines you as. It's not what your DNA is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like a genuine question. Is that the difference? And so if that's the case, then race is just literally there to put people in boxes.
Yeah, but then sometimes, not that people want to be in boxes, but some people are proud of belonging to a certain race.
Well, I think they're more proud of being ethnic.
That makes sense.
Right? Am I wrong?
I think people should be proud of who they are and where they came from and what they are. Like, I think, I think like, I think it's really important we have things like Black History Month. I mean, I think we should do more with it. Like just saying Black History Month and not progressing on it doesn't do much. But I think we should celebrate people's history and be aware of like what as a society has happened to different groups of people. Right.
But that's all their ethnicity, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't you argue that? Like true. Anyone who's proud of their race. What's up, Mark?
Yeah, I want your opinion. I love this.
Is there an argument to be made about white pride?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a difficult one too. So this is interesting
Definitely
about white pride.
Argument.
I mean, first of all, white pride straight away has a connotation with the KKK, and we don't like them. So that is a difficult one. I would say, I mean, it could be argued that like society in general caters towards white pride, as in like, we have Black History Month because the other 11 months are all about white history. And for the longest time, we've discredited the history of any other ethnicities but white people. So, when people say they're proud to be white, I'm like, you can be proud of your heritage. Like I'm proud to be Scottish. I'm proud to be Irish. I'm proud to be Jewish. I'm proud to be from this country, but being just proud to be white. Like what is being white in general has been like the superpower, and it has been white culture that has done like terrible things to other people of other ethnicities. So I'm like, do we need a white pride? It's like how we don't have straight pride, right? We have gay pride because they were the ones that were marginalized and put down and treated as like second-class citizens. So now they're saying, actually, this is something you've put on us to make us feel like lesser than people. And you know what? While you see it as a derogative, we're proud of that.
Yeah.
So we don't need white pride because we've never, as a society, been told like we've never been put down as white people. We've never been told like you are bad, you are second-class citizens.
Yeah.
So we don't need white pride because I feel like when you have this like pride, it's for minorities, so for people who've been put down and what's the word? Like
marginalized.
Marginalized. Thank you.
The best word for
marginalized their whole life. Yeah.
I agree with most of what you said. But here's my issue. Pendulum. Once again.
Do you think it's going to swing in the other direction?
There is a line to where, okay, you're protecting those that have been marginalized, which is an incredibly important thing in any free society, right? Because equality should be across the board. But unfortunately, society doesn't always allow that to happen. And those are the sins of every single person in every nation, right? And of history. It's happened all across the board. Right now, we are in post-colonial setting where Caucasian white men have been running the majority of the world.
Yeah, the patriarchy.
But to suggest that white people have done all of the atrocities across the world, I think is really just short-sighted.
I didn't say that.
No, I know. You're right.
But
I'm
said
saying
in
the
America,
argument,
in the Western world right now, it has been.
But it hasn't just been America running the world, right? So it's actually bigger. Right?
I'm talking about where we are right now.
Right.
The world right now. They tried to do a straight pride. Some religious group tried to do a straight pride in America, and I think like 5 people turned up. It was a really bad turnout.
I mean, I don't know anything. That doesn't surprise me.
And like this whole
people
like,
are like, we just go to the bar on Sundays and watch football.
Right. Is like this whole white pride again is like, you don't need to say you're proud of being white because you've never been told that being white is wrong, and you've never been told that being white is.
That's a good point too.
Is like something that makes you a lesser person.
Right. So I agree with that. I think anyone that says they're proud of their race, it's just a weird thing to say, right? Like I'm proud to be whatever is like, oh, okay. Is it the race or is it your culture?
Yeah,
right?
because
there's a difference.
When people say like, I am proud to be like a black woman or a black man in America, I'm like, I think that's great. Like, I think that's wonderful because that you have faced diversity and marginalization. But if you say like, I'm proud to be white, I'm like, well,
that's a weird thing to say, isn't it?
Why? Like,
I think you could be proud to be, like you said, Irish. You could be proud to be Scottish.
Right,
you could like love Celtic knots and get tattoos.
Exactly. But
and,
then just
name
like,
your kid Kaylin.
Just saying like, I'm proud to be white. I'm like,
it's weird. It's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
It's so it's just a funny concept to me, right? So this whole white pride thing. Here's what I know. The Caucasian, let's say the Caucasian race, all right, is so diverse. It's so diverse. It's not all one group, right? You're Caucasian if you're from Spain.
Yeah.
You're Caucasian if you're from Ireland. Are Irish people and Spanish people the same?
No.
So this whole conversation about single white male in his 20s to 30s, that whole like derogatory explanation, I think is the pendulum swinging the other way. And I don't stand for that. Just like I don't stand for it going in the opposite direction. I'm not going to allow language to where, oh, you can't be proud because you're a white person, or you have to feel this way because you're a white person. It's like, no, you don't. You have to have the right empathy for everybody, right? And that includes not allowing conversation and, rhetoric and the description of who you are to become a negative thing, because that's what's happened to them. That's how it happens, right? That's how it happens to the Jews in the Holocaust. It's how it happens to African Americans. It's how it happens to Asians coming to America in World War II when they're put into camps. It's the manufacturing of consent. It's the manufacturing and the normalization of marginalizing anybody. And I don't like any of that, whether it's about white people or not. And it ain't right. So this whole you shouldn't be proud of Caucasian, I think is funny, right? And the whole idea that white people are the worst things to ever grace the planet is like...
I mean, we are pretty destructive. I'm not going to lie.
Humanity is destructive.
Humanity
is destructive.
We're pretty fucked up and destructive.
Do you think we've done anything worse than Genghis Khan? You think we're worse than Genghis Khan?
No, but we're more recent than Genghis Khan. This is what I'm saying.
Okay, right.
The destruction that white people have done around the world, as a Brit, like we've colonized and fucked up nations.
Without a doubt.
As Americans, they've done the same thing. They've destroyed people who lived here before we even knew this country existed. Like this was their home and their livelihood.
Hold on. Sorry. We got to push back on that a little bit.
All right, push back.
So I get it. I did projects on the whole Trail of Tears, and everything that happened with the Native American is disgusting. I'm not disagreeing with that. How long was that fight?
The Trail of Tears in specific?
No. How long was the colonization of America into the genocide of Native Americans? How long did that take?
I don't know.
It took like 500 years, didn't it?
No. When did Columbus get to America?
1492. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't even been.
So think about that.
Yeah.
And then into America,
and it happened
taking wagons across.
No, it happened very. So yeah. So it took a long time, but.
So that's a long time. Whereas you have people like Genghis Khan in a single lifetime conquering more than anybody has ever conquered in the whole world. I don't
get that difference that makes.
What I'm saying is, if we're talking about the all-time greats,
destructive people,
right?
Genghis Khan is pretty up there.
We have to look at all of history, and I don't think it's race specific for anyone. That's what I think.
Well, I'm saying
I think it's a weird thing to say.
The world we're living in right now, the present moment, 2022, in America, right now, we are living in a world that has been we're living in a country that has been detrimentally affected by white violence right now in this country.
I think that America was built off of a lot of racism and white violence. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with that. But what we're talking about is how Caucasian now is defined as like the oppressor of the world, right? And what's interesting with that is because being Caucasian is so diverse. That really is putting a group on a lot of people that have no business being in that despicable category, right? There are plenty of Caucasian people who are just barely getting by, and they empathize with any human experience that's similar to them. Honestly, I really think the lines are more class than they are race, and I think that's the way the world is truly defined. And this whole conversation of race is a distraction. Yeah. This whole
it's a tricky subject too, because like I said, we don't know the right answers. We're just discussing things on here, and I would love to hear more nuanced opinions and other people's opinions on this. I would love if we could have people in who are different ethnicities than us, because I'm very well aware of who we are having this conversation.